This is the Buffett Mindset channel where we practice patience and calm wealth building daily. If you enjoy these types of videos, consider liking and subscribing. This will mean a lot to the channel. Stop what you're doing and listen. Not an audience, not then a spectator, but at a man receiving orders, because this message is not entertainment, it is a commissioning. You've been walking through your days as if time was casual, as if the breath in your lungs was ordinary, and if the very fact that you woke this morning was not itself a command from heaven. Here we plain, if you are alive, you are on assignment. You are not meant to sample existence, you are heir to execute destiny. The tragedy of most men is not that they fail, it is that they never begin, as they never understood the weight of who sent them. You were sent by God, not metaphorically, not poetically, but literally. Every strength in you, every skill in your hand, every fire in your chest is a weapon forged for purpose, and yet you've walked it though you were free to waste it. You've let yourself believe that discipline is optional, that courage is negotiable, that success is for you and not for others, that the lie of the drifter, and the drifter is not harmless. He is the devil delight, because the enemy of your soul doesn't need to rake you. He only needs you to forget. Forget that you were sent. Forget that you are chosen. Forget that your footsteps are already part of a day larger than your fear. I tell you now, act if you are on a mission from God, because you are. This isn't about being perfect. This isn't about never doubted, never stumbling. This is about walking forward where though your movement is divine decree. When you rise, rise with the seriousness of a soldier hearing the morning trumpet. When you speak, speak with the weight of one who carries orders sealed in his chest. When you labor, labor with the fire of one who knows that heaven itself is watching for proof of his obedience. Think of Andrew Carnegie, a man who began laying a poor boy in Scotland with nothing but grit in his bones. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't ask if he was qualified. He acted as if the future was his assignment, and it was. He built fortunes not to hoard but to give, because he believed his wealth was not his own. That is the posture of a man on mission. Think of Thomas Edison, who burned through 10,000 failures to find the light. Do you think he endured because of profit? No, he endured because he believed he had seen something entrusted to him. He moved like a man under orders, as if the fire in his mind was not a hobby, but a command. And think of Theodore Roosevelt, who at a sickly boy could have accepted weakness says. Instead, he declared war on his own frailty. A man who began then a poor boy in Scotland with nothing but grit in his bones. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't ask if he was qualified. He acted as if the future was his assignment, and it was. He built fortunes not to hoard but to give, because he believed his wealth was not his own. That is the posture of a man on mission. Think of Thomas Edison, who burned through 10,000 failures to find the light. Do you think he endured because of profit? No, he endured because he believed he had seen something entrusted to him. He moved like a man under orders, as if the fire in his mind was not a hobby, but a command. And think of Theodore Roosevelt, who at a sickly boy could have accepted weakness says. Instead, he declared war on his own frailty. Trained, he hardened, he built himself into a leader of men. That is not coincidence. That is not mere willpower. That is mission. He acted that if God himself had said, "Rise and conquer your body, for you will be made to conquer more." And history proved him right. What made these men dangerous was not intelligence alone. It was not fortune, nor luck, nor applause. It was conviction. Conviction that they were sent. Conviction that their days were not random, their actions not optional, their words not wasted. They lived as though their choices mattered eternally, and they did. So now I ask you, how long will you keep living like a volunteer when you are enlisted? How long do you keep pretending you have time when the clock has been ticking since your first breath? How long do you keep asking for signs when the sign is the very fact you are hearing this now? The call has already come. You are not waiting for orders, you are ignoring them. From this day forward, stop calling your potential someday. Stop calling your greatness maybe. Stop living as though you can negotiate with destiny. You cannot. Your life is not an experiment. It is a deployment. You are not that to try. You are ready to fulfill. Every step you take must reflect that. Every word you speak must echo it. Every habit you build must submit to it. Say these words aloud until they become marrow in your bones. I am not there to blend. I am mere to build. My breath is proof that heaven still has work to do through me. I am not waiting for confirmation. I am walking in command. My steps are not random. They are reinforced by God. Repeat them daily. Repeat them when you wake, when you tire, when you doubt. Repeat them until the timid self dies and the soldier self rises. Because when you finally act dad though you are sent, the world will stop treating you like one more leaf in the wind. It will bow to your mission. And you will not only live, you will conquer. You rise in the morning and before your feet even hit the ground, you whisper your mission. Not a mantra for motivation, but a war cry for identity. I am a man on assignment. My life is not my own. My breath is proof that there is still work to do through me. This is how you start to transmute ordinary days into extraordinary results. The man who treats his mornings as casual becomes casual. The man who treats his mornings as sacred becomes sacred. He is not waiting for a burst of energy. He is installing a command into his subconscious. Flop and move with purpose, live with fire, act with heaven behind you. When you step into your work, no matter how small the task, you do it though it is an altar. You stop labeling things important and them things unimportant. Everything becomes training for the mission. The way you send an email, the way you stand, the way you look at people, the way you speak. All of it is opportunity to embody the assignment. You understand something most men never learn. That character is built not on stages, but in kitchens, in hallways, in quiet corners where no one sees. That is why you must build yourself quietly, like a soldier drilling in the dark. Because when the trumpet sounds and the doors open, you won't be practicing. You'll be ready. This is why distractions die when a man knows he's sent. The lust for approval, the addiction to noise, the constant scanning of other people's opinions. They lose their power because the mission is louder. The man who is on assignment is not seduced by comfort. He is not swayed by criticism. He guards his time like a king guards his crown. He chooses his influences like a jeweler choosing stones. He listens only to that which strengthens his aim, and he speaks only of that which he intends to build. This is not arrogance. This is stewardship. The gifts you've been given are not ornaments. They are weapons. The time you have is not a toy. It is a treasury. The energy burning in your chest is not random. It is a currency of heaven waiting to be invested. If you spend it on gossip, on scrolling, on indulgence, you will have nothing to show. If you spend it on discipline, on skill, on building, on service, you will create a legacy that outlives you. That is why Andrew Carnegie gave away his fortune long before he had it. He already knew his wealth was a trust, not a trophy. That is why Edison refused to stop after failure number 9,999. He was not just inventing a bulb, he was fulfilling a command. You must begin to speak to yourself as one who has been entrusted with something. I am made to execute, not experiment. I am made to fulfill, not to guess. My habits are orders. My discipline is devotion. Say it until you believe it, because the subconscious does not respond to your wishes. It responds to your repeated commands. And when your subconscious believes you are a man on mission, it supplies you with the energy, the focus, and the endurance you once thought you lacked. Do not be surprised if the world does not understand you. Do not be surprised if people drift away. The soldier on mission does not consult the crowd for directions. He follows his orders. The world will mock what it does not comprehend. It'd call your seriousness obsession, your focus arrogance, your silence mystery. But let them talk. While they talk, you build. While I guess you act, while I hesitate, you advance. And when you finally reveal what you've been preparing, it'll not be potential. It will be power. If you want to act as if you're on a mission from God, stop waiting for a voice from the sky and start moving as though it already spoke. This is how you kill hesitation. This is how you kill drift. You take your next step with the same seriousness as a soldier carrying sealed orders. You stop asking if you're ready. You stop asking if it's safe. You start walking as if heaven itself is reinforcing your stride. Repeat this daily until it no longer feels like a speech, but like your own heartbeat. I am not meant to blend, I am meant to build. My breath is proof that my mission is not finished. My steps are not random, they are reinforced by heaven. I don't need confirmation, I am already commissioned. Say it when you wake, say it when you're tired, say it when you're tempted to drift back into smallness. Because every time you speak it, you reinstall the program. Every time you act it, you reinforce the identity. And once the identity is installed, the behavior becomes automatic. That is when laziness dies, distraction dies, smallness dies. That is when you stop begging for confidence and start walking in command. The man who accepts he is on a mission no longer negotiates with his feelings. No longer asks, "Do I feel like it today?" The soldier on assignment does not ask if the battlefield feels comfortable. He moves because the order is higher than his mood. That is what separates the ordinary from the ordained. Most men waste years waiting to feel inspired, waiting for clarity, waiting for the perfect conditions. But the man who knows he is sent does not wait for permission. He knows hesitation is disobedience. He acts because every delay is dishonor to the calling. Every hour wasted is an insult to the gift he carries. So he moves when tired. He moves when uncertain. He moves when mocked. He moves when alone. Why? Because his mission is not up for negotiation. You must come to see your habits, not the random choices, but the sacred rituals of obedience. When you wake early, it is not about productivity. It is about honor. When you train your body, it is not about vanity, it is about stewardship. When you guard your mind, it is not about positivity, it is about keeping your weapon sharp for battle. And when you discipline your tongue, choosing silence instead of idle chatter, you are not being quiet for the sake of politeness, you are protecting the power of your words, reserving them for declarations that shift reality. A man on a mission treats every detail of his day as sacred ground.
Sharpen himself in the unseen so that when he is seen, he cuts through resistance like a blade. This is why you must stop looking outward for validation. The world does not get to confirm your assignment. They did not send you, and they cannot stop you. Your validation comes from obedience, not applause. The world rewards entertainers. The crowd cheers for distractions. But heaven backs builders. Look at men like Theodore Roosevelt, who fought through weakness and sickness, not because the world was watching, but because he had resolved in the silence of his own soul that he would conquer himself first. He understood that no throne, no crown, no stage means anything if the man wearing it is conquered by his own flesh. That is why your private victories matter more than public applause. The tragedy of most men is not that they failed, but that they lived like tourists in their own lives. They carried no urgency, no assignment, no conviction. They spoke like they had tomorrow guaranteed. But the man who knows he is sent lives every day like a soldier carrying sealed orders that cannot wait. He moves with weight in his step, clarity in his eyes, and fire in his chest. And when others look at him, they cannot always explain it, but they feel it. This is a man who walks as if the universe itself leans forward when he speaks.
Understand this. When you live like you're on a mission from God, you automatically rise above mediocrity, because mediocrity is nothing more than the absence of conviction. The crowd lives in maybe. The crowd lives in someday. The crowd lives in I hope so, but the man on mission lives in I must. His decisions are final. His word is law. His actions are aligned. That is why when Andrew Carnegie vowed to give away his fortune before he even earned it, he set his identity in stone long before the world could see proof. He wasn't waiting for success to confirm his assignment. His assignment demanded success. And is the paradox you must grasp. The quieter you become about your mission, the louder your results will speak. You don't need to shout. You don't need to beg the world to see you. You don't need to argue for your vision. The man who walks like he is sent carries an authority that silence cannot diminish. His very presence speaks louder than his words. When others wonder, you decide. When others drift, you declare. When others quit, you endure. The mission is what separates you. So I ask you now, have you been living like a man on assignment or like a man still waiting for orders? The call has already come. The blueprint is already within you. The only question is whether you move as if it is true. Because once you do, once you rise and act dead, though heaven itself has trusted you with this life, then laziness dies, fear dissolves, doubt collapses, and in its place comes command. In its place comes clarity. In its place comes the kind of faith that bends the world to your steps. Repeat this until it becomes marrow in your bones. I was not born to drift. I was not born to delay. I was sent. My life is not casual. My mission is not optional. My victory is not negotiable. I am the man chosen for this hour, and I will not waste it. The mission you carry is not about grand gestures done once in a while. It is about the small, quiet acts of discipline, repeated until they forge steel inside of you. The man on assignment knows that greatness is not the result of a single strike, but the rhythm of the hammer that falls day after day. He understands that the battlefield of destiny is not fought in arenas, but in the hidden hours when the alarm rings and his flesh whispers stay, but he rises anyway, when the meal in front of him tempts him to excess, but he chooses restraint, when the world says scroll, drift, wander, but he opens the book, sharp pep the mind, and feeds the soul instead. These are not minor choices, they are sacred declarations of alignment. Each act of discipline is a statement to heaven and to hell alike. I will not betray my mission. You see, most men think their mission will begin with fanfare. They wait for a platform, a spotlight, a dramatic unfolding of destiny. But I tell you plainly, the mission begins in silence. It begins with choices no one sees. It begins with the man who refuses to betray himself even when the world is not watching. That man becomes unstoppable, because when the day of battle comes, when the opportunity arrives, when the throne is empty and waiting, he does not hesitate. He is already ready. He has been training in the shadows for years while others wasted themselves in noise. That is why David could face Goliath, because he had already conquered lions and bears in the field when no one was applauding. Every man is given a measure of energy. Some spend it on worry, on lust, on chatter, on defending their excuses. Others channel it into their mission. Energy is the most sacred currency of your life. How you spend it reveals whether you are living like a man on assignment or like a man on vacation. When you squander your hours in distraction, when you leak your strength into indulgence, you are not just wasting time, you are sabotaging the mission heaven trusted you with. That is why discipline is not about morality or appearances. Discipline is about stewardship. You were entrusted with strength, with mind, with talent. To waste them is not yet carelessness. It is betrayal. Let us speak of the battlefield within. The enemy is not always outside, it is inside. The voice of doubt, the whisper of comfort, the temptation of delay. These are the assassins of destiny, and they come dressed in reason, in logic, in tomorrow. But the man on assignment learns to hear their voice and respond with a sword. He cuts through excuses with one word, now. He cuts through fear with another word, forward. He cuts through hesitation with the command that echoes from eternity, move. That is how he conquers himself. That is how he becomes a general over his own soul. And until a man conquers himself, he has no right to lead anyone else. Consider the lives of men like Edison, who burned through the night in relentless pursuit of invention. He was not experimenting for curiosity. He was carrying out an assignment he believed the world needed. Consider Roosevelt, who rebuilt his frail body into one of steel not because anyone demanded it, but because he demanded it of himself. Consider Carnegie, who rose from nothing not by luck, but by walking daily like a man chosen for wealth and stewardship long before he had a dollar to his name. They did not ask, "Are ready?" They acted as if they had already been sent, and because they believed, reality obeyed. So who is your command? Stop waiting for the world to see you. Stop waiting for the approval of small men. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. You are already sent. Your mission is already alive. Every second you wait is another second your legacy is delayed. Rise today. Bay if God himself has placed his seal upon your forehead, because he has. Walk today, they if the world cannot deny you, because it cannot deny a man who refuses to deny himself. Speak today, they if your words carry weight, because they do, and build today, they if your hands are laying bricks for eternity, because they are. This is how you shift. This is how you stop playing small You do not dabble in destiny. You do not test the waters of greatness. You do not wonder if you belong. You decide, you commit, you execute, that though disobedience is not an option. And when you live this way, when every day becomes obedience to the mission, you discover that heaven itself opens doors for you. Men will call it luck. They will call it genius. They will call it timing. But you know the truth. It was law. It was obedience. It was alignment with the mission written into your very soul. So write this on the tablet of your heart. I am on a mission. My life is not casual. My habits are not random. My words are not wasted. I am sent. And could I am sent, I cannot fail. I can only finish. Let this become the creed by which you live. Let it reorder your mornings, your nights, your work, your rest. Let it burn away the false versions of you who lived small, who played safe, who drifted. That man is gone. In his place stands the soldier, the builder, the conqueror, the man who carries heaven blueprint in his chest. The mission is not a sprint. It is a lifelong march. And if you are to walk it faithfully, you must learn the art of endurance. Endurance is not just pushing when you feel strong. It is continuing when you feel broken. It is not found in moments of applause, but in hours of silence when no one notices, no one cares, and yet you keep going. Every man who has finished his assignment has walked through valleys where vision felt far, where results seemed absent, where prayers sounded unanswered. But he pressed on anyway. Why? Because he understood a secret. Mission is not sustained by motivation. It is sustained by obedience. The man who acts only when inspired will quit 1,000 times, but the man who acts as if he has orders from heaven cannot stop. Thus his duty is not to his feelings, but to his purpose. Endurance is built in the furnace of repetition. Every day you rise, not because you feel like it, but because you are commanded to. Every night you lay your head down, not in regret, but in the satisfaction that you obeyed today. This rhythm becomes strength. This rhythm becomes identity. And identity is the most powerful engine in the universe. Once you see yourself as the man who cannot quit, quitting becomes impossible. Once you believe you are sent, retreat becomes unthinkable. This is why I tell you, do not seek comfort, do not chase praise. Seek only alignment. Obey only the law of your mission. If you endure, the world must yield. Think of a river. At first it is nothing but a trickle on the mountain, weak, small, unremarkable. But it does not stop. It does not apologize for being small. It does not ask permission from the rocks. It simply keeps flowing. Day after day, night after night, it carves valleys, splits canyons, powers cities, and finally empties into the ocean. That is endurance. That is what happens when a man on mission refuses to stop. The rocks that once seemed unbreakable are cut through by his persistence. The obstacles that once mocked him are worn down by his rhythm. This is the way of destiny. It yields to the man who refuses to yield. But endurance alone is not enough. Legacy requires vision. You must lift your eyes beyond the temporary. If you live only for the day, you collapse in the day. If you live only for applause, you will die when applause is gone. But if you live for the unseen, if you live for the eternal, if you act with the certainty that heaven is watching, that generations are waiting, that your mission echoes beyond your lifetime, then no storm can shake you. Vision is what lifts a man from the dust. Vision is what compels him to work when others sleep, to rise when others fall, to believe when others doubt. Vision makes pain bearable, because pain becomes proof that you are building something real. Andrew Carnegie did not see set factories. He saw libraries, schools, and opportunities for generations unborn. Edison did not see set filaments. He saw a world transformed by light. Lincoln did not see set war. He saw a nation reborn in freedom. Each man endured ridicule, opposition, failure, yet their eyes were fixed not on the immediate but on the eternal. That is why their names remain carved in history, and that is why your name too can be carved if you dare to see beyond yourself. Now let me speak of conquest, not of nations, but of self. The hardest battle you'll fight is not with critics, not with rivals, not with circumstances. It is with the part of you that wants to remain small. That timid voice that says, not today, not me, not enough. That is the enemy, and you must slay it daily. Every time you rise when you don't want to, you slay it. Every time you hold your tongue when anger tempts you, you slay it. Every time you push one more step when exhaustion whispers, you slay it. And each victory over self strengthens your dominion. The man who conquers himself cannot be conquered by the world. And in is the final law of legacy. Live as if watched by heaven, because you are S. Every word, every act, every thought is recorded in the unseen. You may deceive men, but you cannot deceive the mission. You may delay yourself, but you cannot delay eternity.
The mission will be fulfilled either through you or through another. The only question is, will you be the man who obeyed or the man who drifted? Will your story be one of obedience and glory or one of excuse and regret? The choice is not tomorrow, it is now. Act today. Be if you are on assignment. Speak today, aid if your words carry eternal weight. Work today, aid if the legacy of your family depends on it, because it does. Walk today if God himself walks beside you, because he does. Do not shrink back, do not delay, do not play small. Build, move, declare, conquer. For the world does not remember men who tried. It remembers men who lived as if they were sent. Write this deep into your spirit. I was not born for comfort, I was commissioned for conquest. I will not drift, I will not delay. I will not betray the mission. I will live that if heaven itself depends on my obedience. I will act that if I am sent, because I am. The man who multiplies his mission into generations is not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who plants the deepest. He knows that real power is not measured in a single day applause, but in the echo of his work decades after he is gone. He rises early and labors late, not because anyone is watching, but because he knows eternity is. Sows his disciplined seeds into his children, his apprentices, his community, knowing that each habit, each principle, each act of integrity will grow long after he returns to dust. He understands that legacy is not a monument built at the end. It is the sum of 1,000 choices made quietly, faithfully, under the authority of his calling. A man on mission does not scatter his energy. He understands that every word he speaks, every act he performs is instruction to the unseen. It teaches the next generation how to build, how to endure, how to carry the weight without breaking. That is why you cannot afford smallness. That is why you cannot afford the luxury of drift. You are writing a manual with your life, whether you mean to or not. The question is whether it be a manual of mediocrity or a blueprint of greatness. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you teach persistence. Every time you choose principle over profit, you teach integrity. Every time you guard your energy, you teach focus. Understand this law. The man who acts as if he is on a mission from God leaves behind an inheritance greater than gold. He leaves behind a pattern of thought, a standard of excellence, a rhythm of belief. This inheritance cannot be taxed, stolen, or squandered. It becomes a fortress for those who come after him.
His sons and daughters walk taller as they have seen him walk unbent. His community rises because they have watched him rise without compromise.
His enemies may try to erase his name, but his pattern remains, his influence multiplies, his mission continues. History does not favor the man who tried once and quit. It favors the man who acted daily as if the throne was already his, who built without permission, who spoke without apology, who lived without fear. It favors the man who transmuted his private struggles into public strength, who took his hidden pain and forged it into visible pillars for others to lean on. That is what it means to act on assignment. That is what it means to build quietly but with heaven thunder behind your steps. So what do you do now? You stop announcing and start aligning. You rise before the sun and build before the world wakes. You speak less and execute more. You cut out distractions, because distractions are spiritual assassins sent to steal your focus. You walk into rooms like a man who belongs there, because the mission brought you there. You guard your mind as if it were the Ark of a Covenant, because it is. You do not pollute it with garbage, gossip, and fear. You feed it with law, faith, and fire. You discipline your body, because a weak vessel cannot carry a heavy assignment. You discipline your words, because a careless tongue can destroy decades of build. You begin to practice the posture of a man on mission. Straight back, steady eyes. You measured steps. You train your face not to flinch at adversity. You train your heart not to faint at delay. You train your hands not to tremble at opportunity. Each day you add one brick to the fortress of your legacy.
Each night you review your orders and prepare for tomorrow. You live so deliberately that even your silence speaks conviction. Repeat this until it becomes marrow and breath. I am on assignment. I am building something greater than myself. My actions are orders, not options. My discipline is destiny. My silence is strategy. My endurance is worship. My legacy will outlive me. Say it aloud until it feels strange to not say it. Write it until your hand aches. Return to it until your mind accepts it. Died identity. This is not a game. This is not inspiration. This is reprogramming. This is how you shift from drifting to dominating, from wandering to ruling, from surviving to fulfilling. And when you finally step into your moment, when the world first notices what you have been building in silence, you will not feel surprise. You will not feel unworthy. You will stand like a man who has been waiting for this hour all his life, because you have. You will stand like a man who has already rehearsed the crown, who has already carried the weight in private.
You move one who knows his steps are guided by heaven, and we become unstoppable, not because you are lucky, but because you are obedient. The man who endures across decades does not rely on fire alone. Fire burns hot, but it also burns out. What carries a man across a lifetime is rhythm, steady, unyielding, ordered rhythm. It is the drumbeat of duty, the cadence of discipline, the pulse of a man who knows his days are not his own, but part of a mission etched into eternity. Fire may ignite the journey, but rhythm sustains it. This is why many rise quickly and fall just as fast. They mistake the spark for the system, the inspiration for the law. The man who outlasts builds a rhythm so strong that even when his emotions waver, even when his body protests, his mission carries him forward like a current he cannot resist. Consider this. Andrew Carnegie did not build his fortune in bursts of passion. He built it brick by brick, day by day, with the rhythm of compounded decisions. He did not wait to feel motivated to act. He acted until action itself became his default. Thomas Edison did not endure thousands of failures as of excitement he endured, because the rhythm of his experiments became natural to him breathing.
Locking the natural time itself is when I provided it.
Henry Ford did not change the face of industry because of one burst of vision. He changed it piece. Every day he rose to the same mission, the same beef, until the rhythm of his persistence created an empire. We must now adopt this truth. Discipline without rhythm is fragile, but rhythm is discipline multiplied. Rhythm does not ask permission from your mood. Rhythm does not bow to the weather, the noise of the crowd. Rhythm is law made flesh. Rhythm is what transforms ambition into architecture, what takes raw talent and hammers it into legacy. You are not taught to rise in random fits. You are taught to march daily, relentlessly, without break and cadence. The enemy of rhythm is drift. Drift sneaks in when a man confuses delay for rest, hesitation for wisdom, distraction for balance. Drift is the subtle offbeat, the pause that grows into a pattern, the missed day that becomes a missed year. Drift tells you that skipping today won't matter, but law says it always matters. One crack in the dam can flood the valley. One compromise in rhythm can undo years of progress. That is why the man on mission guards his rhythm like a warrior guards his weapon. He knows that the longer the rhythm continues, the vision is inevitable. And so you must train yourself to hear the drumbeat of destiny within you. Wake to it, walk to it, work to it.
Let every meal, every step, every breath align to the cadence of your purpose. Do not separate the sacred from the mundane. The rhythm of brushing your teeth, of making your bed, of writing your thoughts, of planning your day, all of it is holy when aligned to mission. Greatness is not in the seal act, it is in the steady rhythm of aligned acts. Understand this, rhythm is worship. Rhythm is obedience to the mission. Rhythm is how heaven measures your seriousness. It is not in the noise of your declarations, but in the quiet daily march of your actions. When you show up again and again, unseen, unheard, unpraised, but faithful, the universe bends. Not because you shouted, but because you refuse to stop walking. Repeat this until it anchors itself in your soul. And I am rhythm. My mission is rhythm. My destiny marches to the beat of my daily obedience. Write it, speak it, live it. For when your rhythm becomes unbreakable, your results become undeniable. The world cannot resist a man whose footsteps never falter. When others burn out, you will still be moving. When others quit, you will still be marching. When others wonder why nothing has changed, your life will stand in proof that everything changes for the man who refuses to rate rhythm. And when the crown is finally placed upon your head, you will know it was not luck, not chance, not even brilliance that brought you there. It was rhythm.
It was obedience. It was the law in motion. The man who builds rhythm must also build walls, not to keep the world out entirely, but to guard the sanctuary of his mission. Distraction is the thief that creeps in when vigilance sleeps. It does not attack boldly. It whispers, it tempts, it dresses itself in importance. A phone hold layout, a scroll there, a sudden urgent but trivial task that feels productive but drains your rhythm. The world is full of voices that will gladly waste your life for you. If you let them, your rhythm, the very cadence that builds destiny, will collapse under their weight. You must decide now. Not every voice deserves entry. Not every demand deserves your attention. Not every invitation deserves your yes. A man on mission learns the art of sacred no. He says no to the urgent but meaningless. He says no to the flattering but empty. He says no to the distractions that masquerade opportunities. Because each yes to noise is a no to rhythm, and each no to distraction is a yes to destiny. History proves this. Look at Rockefeller, a man criticized by many, pressured by thousands, yet unshaken in his focus. He did not bend to every cry of the crowd. He kept his rhythm, guarded it like treasure, and in time his rhythm built one of the greatest fortunes the world had seen. Lincoln, surrounded by division, chaos, and voices pulling him in every direction, did not abandon his rhythm. He returned daily to the mission of unity, of perseverance, and though storms raged, his rhythm carried a nation through fire. Guarding rhythm is not passive, it is warfare. You must become ruthless with your environment. If your space breeds distraction, cleanse it. If your company breeds doubt, change it. If your habits invite drift, destroy them. A man on mission does not merely hope to stay focused, he engineers his life so that rhythm has no enemy left to conquer. But do not think the greatest danger is outside. No, the fiercest enemy of rhythm is within. Doubt, fatigue, hesitation, and the subtle voice that says, "You can skip today." That voice is the assassin of destiny. It does not strike with violence, it erodes with permission. One skipped day becomes one skipped week. One skipped week becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. The man who listens to that voice becomes a drifter before he even realizes he has stopped marching. So what must you do? Build a fortress not just of environment but of mind. Reprogram your inner dialogue until every whisper of weakness is met with a roar of command. And the thought arises, Highness today. You answer, my mission does not rest. When the doubt says, maybe I am not enough, you answer, I was sent, and that is enough. When fatigue whispers, take the easy road, you respond, my rhythm is greater than my comfort. And then lies the secret. Repetition is your strongest ally. You must repeat truth until it becomes stronger than every lie. You must repeat discipline until it silences every distraction. You must repeat belief until doubt cannot breathe in your presence. Rhythm is not built once. It is defended daily with every thought, every action, every refusal to drift. Write these laws upon your heart. My mission is sacred. My rhythm is law. My focus is my fortress. My no protects my destiny. My yes belongs only to what builds me. Live by them until they no longer feel like effort but instinct, for the man who defends his rhythm becomes untouchable. The world may storm, critics may shout, temptation may rise, but his steps remain steady. And in the end, it is not the loudest man who wins, but the man whose footsteps never faltered. Mastery is not born in a single victory. It is forged in the rhythm of countless small battles, invisible to the world but critical to the man who fights them. The world celebrates the breakthrough, the moment the walls fall and the treasure is revealed. But the world forgets that the treasure is not found by accident. It is uncovered by the man who kept striking at the wall when no one believed would crack. Mastery is the reward for rhythm that refuses to quit. At first, your rhythm feels forced, even fragile. You drag yourself to the work, to the practice, to the discipline. You fight through hesitation, through fatigue, through doubt. But till you persist, something changes. The rhythm hard dead into habit. The habit becomes identity, and the identity becomes mastery. What once required will now requires nothing but breath. You do it not because it is easy, but because it has become who you are. That is the secret the world misses. Mastery is not an act, it is a becoming. Consider the old blacksmith at the forge. His first strikes are clumsy, his movements uncertain, his timing irregular. But day by day, strike by strike, he aligns himself with the hammer, the flame, the vivil. In time, he no longer thinks about the swing. It is automatic, precise, perfect. The iron bends as his rhythm has mastered it. This is the same with your mind, your purpose, your mission. At first, you are clumsy. At first, you feel resistance. But if you persist, if you return daily, the fire within you forge mastery that no obstacle can resist. Look again to the giants of history. Edison did not stumble into invention. He lived in rhythm until discovery was inevitable. Buffett did not rise on luck. He mastered his rhythm of study, of patience, of principle, until the markets bent to his consistency. King Solomon himself, when he prayed not for riches but for wisdom, showed mastery of rhythm over impulse. His discipline of thought became the legacy of a kingdom. These men did not worship comfort. They obeyed rhythm until mastery became their crown. But mastery demands one more law: humility before the process. The man who thinks himself already complete drifts because he no longer returns to the forge. He no longer sharp put his edge. He becomes brittle, arrogant, unprepared. The master, however, never abandons rhythm. He knows the crown is not proof of arrival, but a symbol of continued obedience. He does not worship the applause, for applause is noise. He worships the silence of discipline, the quiet return to the work, the unseen repetition that builds unshakable power. Understand this. Mastery is not what you do once in front of the crowd. It is what you do daily when no one is watching. It is the thousand silent steps that build one roar of impact. It is the invisible that creates the undeniable. And then is the sharpest truth. If you cannot master yourself in silence, you will never master the world in sound. For the man who cannot conquer his own delay, his own doubt, his own distraction, cannot conquer anything greater. So write this into your bones. Mastery is rhythm. Mature.
Yes.
It is discipline eternalized. It is the man who has lived so long under rhythm that his very existence becomes law. The storms no longer shake him, because his rhythm is storm-proof. The critics no longer sway him, because his rhythm drowns their voices. The world no longer intimidates him, because his rhythm has made him sovereign. This is your path. Do not chase mastery for it's an event. Build it at a rhythm. Defend it at a fortress. Live it until it lives you. And when you look back, you will not find a single day that made you great. You will find 1,000 days, ordinary in the eyes of the world, extraordinary in the law of rhythm. And you will realize that mastery was not something you achieved, it was something you became. The man who has conquered himself, who has forged rhythm into mastery, does not need to declare it. His presence speaks before his mouth opens. The world bends not because he demands it, but because the laws he has lived by are visible in the weight of his walk, the steel of his eyes, the steadiness of his hand. This man is no longer a seeker of approval. He is an embodiment of truth. Where others fumble with speeches, he remains silent, and yet the silence has authority, for it is built on thousands of days lived in obedience to law. This is the ascension of manhood that so few touch. Most men die as talkers. They boast of their dreams, of their plans, of their intentions, and leave behind nothing but words. But the master dies the law. He leaves behind legacies, not excuses. He leaves behind principles carved into families, businesses, institutions, movements. His name may fade, but the ripple of his discipline spreads through centuries. The seed of his rhythm becomes a harvest for generations. This is not mystery. It is order. For the man who bends his own will into law cannot help but bend the world with him. You must understand the highest level of living is not power over others, but sovereignty over self. The man who rules nations but has not ruled his own impulses will fall. History proves this. Kings, emperors, conquerors have a collapsed boss lest greed, fear, or pride remained unconquered within. But the man who governs himself is untouchable. He cannot be bribed, for he has already mastered desire. He cannot be shaken, for he has already defeated fear. He cannot be enslaved, for he has already destroyed doubt. This is why the greatest victory is invisible. It is the victory within. And once that victory is secure, all other victories are inevitable. The business grows because the man has already grown. The wealth comes because the foundation of order is already set. The respect arrives because he has already respected himself in silence. The influence spreads because his identity has already been engraved in stone through repetition. Do you see now? The outer world is only a mirror. It reflects not your effort alone, but the invisible laws you have obeyed in the dark. Think of Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha. His fortune is not his genius, it is his law. For decades he obeyed rhythm when others chased noise. He lived within principles when others gambled with emotion. He did not bend to markets, he bent markets to him, because he had already bent himself into mastery. He did not require applause, he required order. And the result is sovereignty, financial, mental, spiritual. He is proof of this truth. When you master the inner law, the outer world becomes your servant. But hear this warning. The greatest threat to mastery is arrogance. Many men climb high only to fall because they believe themselves invincible. They forgot that law is eternal. They forgot that the same rhythm that lifted them must still be obeyed to sustain them. When Solomon drifted from his wisdom, when his heart divided, his kingdom fractured, when great men abandon rhythm, the law does not excuse them, the law humbles them. So you must remain vigilant, daily return to the forge, daily repeat the rhythm, daily guard your thought, your words, your discipline, for mastery is not owned, it is rented, and rent is due every sunrise. So what must you do now? Begin the you are. Strip away the illusion that you need more time, more tools, more luck. You do not, you need only rhythm. Begin with one law, one practice, one rhythm repeated until it becomes bone and breath. Then add another. Layer discipline upon discipline until your life is built like stone, unshaken by wind, untouched by storm. You will not rise by noise, but by silence. You will not rise by chance, but by law. You will not rise by applause, but by obedience. And one day, perhaps sooner than you imagine, the world will turn its eyes to you and say, he came from nowhere. He appeared from silence. He rose from shadows. But you know the truth. You did not come from nowhere. You came from rhythm. You did not appear suddenly. You built daily. You did not rise by accident. You rose by law. And that law is now carved into your name, your family, your destiny. Remember this. The man who masters himself becomes a message. The man who obeys law becomes law. The man who builds in silence becomes thunder. And when you walk in that authority, no critic can diminish you. No failure can define you. No storm can destroy you. For you have already conquered the only enemy that ever mattered, the weak version of yourself. That is mastery. That is law. That is eternal power. The first rhythm you must install is silence, not the absence of noise, but the presence of clarity. Each morning, before the world invades your mind with its chaos, sit in stillness. Do not reach for your phone. Do not rush into distraction. Sit with yourself. For 5 minutes, 10 minutes, longer if you can, confront your thoughts. Hear the voice within that you have been drowning in noise. This is not luxury. It is law. The man who cannot sit still cannot stand strong. Buffett himself begins each day in silence, reading, thinking, arranging his mind before he moves. That is why his steps are steady when others stumble. He does not react to the world. He orders it. The second rhythm is declaration. Words shape the mind, and the mind shapes reality. Every morning you must speak not that you are, but Ed you are becoming. Write the sentence of the man you are building, speak it aloud daily until it engraves itself into your subconscious. I am disciplined, I am fades, I am sovereign. Do not whisper, declare, speak, even heaven itself has ordered it. For the subconscious does not respond to weak suggestions. It responds to certainty, to emotion, to repetition. This is the same method Napoleon Hill tells, auto-suggestion, the same weapon used by Carnegie, Ford, Edison, and every giant who refused to remain small. They program their minds daily, that you must too. The third rhythm is alignment. Your habits must match your declaration. A man who says, I am disciplined, but sleeps until noon, lies to himself, and the subconscious knows it. To rewire your identity, you must act in agreement with your words. If you declare discipline, rise early. If you declare sovereignty, take command of your time. If you declare wealth, manage your money with intention. The subconscious is not tricked by fantasy, it is trained by action. When your words and actions align, your identity transforms with a force unstoppable by circumstance. The fourth rhythm is sacrifice. No man becomes great without giving him what weak men cling to: comfort, distraction, indulgence. These are the coins of mediocrity, and the price of mastery is to abandon them. You cannot rise while clutching what drags you down. Buffett turned down endless distractions, endless opportunities, because he knew that law favors focus. Gave up what was good to grasp what was great. You too must sacrifice. The screen that steals your time, the friend who feeds your weakness, the habits that drain your fire. Cut them off not slowly, but decisively. For every indulgence you release, you gain back the energy to rise. The fifth rhythm is construction. Each day build something, not for applause, not for validation, but for proof. Write a page, craft a lad, execute a task, take a step. Let the world see or not see, it does not matter. You are not building for them. You are building yourself into law. The discipline of daily construction creates momentum, and momentum creates identity. A man who builds every day does not ask himself if he is disciplined. He simply is. That identity then spills into everything he touches, multiplying results beyond his effort. The sixth rhythm is reflection. At the close of each day, return to silence and ask, did I live today aligned with my law? Do not lie, do not excuse. If you failed, admit it and demand better of yourself tomorrow. Reflection is the fire that purifies your rhythm. Without it, drift sneaks in, disguised dead progress. With it, you remain vigilant, sharp, unshaken. Great men measure themselves daily, not by the applause of others, but by the law within. The seventh rhythm is endurance. For what is mastery if it lasts only a week? You must commit to these rhythms not for a season, not until you feel tired, but for life. The man who repeats daily becomes eternal. Look again at Buffett. His wealth did not appear from one decision, but from decades of rhythm, compound silently until the world could no longer ignore it. That is endurance. That is the slow, steady march of law, and it is available to you if you refuse to rake the chain. And then is your challenge. Live these rhythms for 7 days without rake. Do not drift. Do not excuse. Do not delay. 7 days of silence, declaration, alignment, sacrifice, construction, reflection, and endurance. In 1 week, your mind will feel different. In 2, your actions will look different. In 4, your identity will begin to shift. In 12, your destiny will already be rewriting itself. For what is destiny but the echo of daily law? But hear this warning. If you attempt this lightly, if you dabble, if you flirt with the idea, you will fail. These rhythms are not decoration, they are transformation. They demand seriousness, conviction, obedience. If you not obey, do not begin. But if you will give yourself fully to the 7-day law, you will awaken a force in yourself that no fear, no critic, no failure can undo. So take this moment seriously. Choose now. Will you drift another year, another decade, another life? Or will you obey law, obey discipline, obey the call within? The choice is yours. The law is eternal, but the opportunity is passing. Begin now. The 8th rhythm is solitude. Not loneliness, not isolation, but deliberate withdrawal from the noise of men in order to hear the truth that only silence can reveal. Every builder of legacy sought solitude. Moses on the mountain, Christ in the wilderness, Carnegie in his hours of study, Buffett in his quiet reading. The world despises solitude because it fears what it might hear if the distractions were stripped away. But a man who avoids solitude never truly meets himself. And a man who never meets himself cannot master himself. Your power is buried beneath the endless chatter of the world, and only in solitude can you dig deep enough to unearth it. This rhythm is not optional. It is essential. The ninth rhythm is dominion over time. Weak men say, I don't have time. Masters say, I command time. For time is not enemy nor friend. It is raw material. Each hour is a brick, and every decision is a choice to build with it or waste it. Buffett once said the difference between successful men and very successful men is that the latter say no to almost everything. Why? Because they know that time is their kingdom, and to waste it is to surrender the crown. You must learn to say no, not out of arrogance, but out of allegiance to your mission. Every yes is a covenant. Every no is protection. If you do not control your time will control you. The 10th rhythm is order of thought. Most men let their minds wander like cattle on open fields, but the master arranges his thoughts like a general marshal's troops. He does not entertain doubt, because doubt breeds drift. He does not feed fear. His fear breeds paralysis. He does not let envy sit at his table, as envy poisons vision. Instead, he calls forth thoughts of faith, focus, discipline, and purpose. He repeats them until they form ranks in his subconscious, marching to the cadence of destiny. Solomon declared that, "Till man thinketh in his heart, so is he." That was not poetry. It was law. The order of your thoughts determines the order of your life. The 11th rhythm is stewardship of energy. Energy is not infinite. Every indulgence costs you. Every distraction drains you. Every wasted word weak you. But the wise man invests his energy. He spends it, then multiplies on his mission, his health, his craft, his faith. He does not give his fire to gossip, to lust, to petty arguments. He directs it at water in a canal, channeling it to turn the wheel of creation. Sexual energy, creative energy, intellectual energy, these are not toys to be squandered. They are tools. And the man who masters their direction builds what others cannot even imagine. The 12th rhythm is endurance in obscurity. This may be the hardest law to accept, because in the beginning no one sees you, no one applauds you, no one acknowledges the fire burning within you. You will build and no one will clap. You will sacrifice and no one will thank you. You will endure and the world will ignore you. But that is not punishment. That is preparation. Buffett spent decades invisible to the masses, compound quietly, until one day the world looked up and realized it was too late to catch him. The oak grows underground long before it towers above men. You must be willing to labor unseen, to believe without applause, to persist without validation. For obscurity is the cocoon of greatness. The 13th rhythm is obedience to purpose. Discipline without purpose is slavery. Work without aim is bondage. But when you obey your definite chief aim, when every step aligns with the mission you have declared, then even hardship becomes holy. You no longer ask, is this easy? You ask, is this aligned? You no longer wonder, I ready? You decide, I was sent. Purpose gives way to every sacrifice, meaning to every delay, power to every repetition. Without purpose, men waste themselves. With purpose, men become immortal. The 14th rhythm is consecration of speech. Words are not casual, they are creation. Each phrase you utter is a seed, and every seed will return a harvest. Weak men speak of lack and live in lack. Strong men speak of order and build order. The giants of history guarded their tongues' treasure chests, refusing to spill their wealth in careless speech. Speak only what you intend to manifest. Do not confess failure. Do not declare weakness. Speak faith, power, clarity, victory. Let your mouth become the forge of your future, and your words will bend the world to your design. The 15th rhythm is gratitude, not as sentiment, but as strategy. Gratitude multiplies what it touches. To thank the present is to command the future. To recognize what you already possess is to prove to the law that you are worthy of more. The ungrateful man repels riches because he proves by his complaint that he cannot handle what he has. The grateful man attracts abundance because he demonstrates faith in the law of increase. Gratitude is the highest form of confidence. It says, I trust the order of the universe and I declare it good. Begin and end each day with gratitude, and watch your harvest grows beyond measure. Finally, the 16th rhythm, legacy. All the others bait here. For wealth without legacy dies. Power without legacy fades. Discipline without legacy vanishes. Legacy is not memory. It is multiplication. It is what remains when you are gone. Carnegie built libraries. Ford reshaped travel. Buffett builds empires that outlast the decades. They did not merely live. They left. Your mission is not only to build a life, but to leave a law, a structure, a pattern that others may follow. Legacy is proof that you are not a drifter, but a builder, not a leaf in the wind, but a tree root in eternal law. So here you stand. 16 rhythms, each one a law, each one a command. They are not to be studied once, they are to be repeated daily until they form the marrow of your being. Silence, declaration, alignment, sacrifice, construction, reflection, endurance, solitude, dominion over time, order of thought, stewardship of energy, endurance in obscurity, obedience to purpose, consecration of speech, gratitude, and legacy. Master these and you master life. Ignore them and drift will claim you. The choice is yours. The law is eternal. The time is now. Every sunrise is a summons. When the light breaks, you are not waking up to another random day. You are stepping onto the battlefield of purpose. And the man who lives by drift will stumble into it unarmed. But the man who lives by law, by rhythm, by command, he begins his morning with a deliberate march. The first command of the day, silence. Not the silence of sleep, but the silence of sovereignty. Before you touch a screen, before you answer a voice, you must sit in stillness and direct your own thought. 10 minutes of solitude that you remind your subconscious, I am on assignment. I command this day. I am not servant to circumstance. I am master of it. That silence sets the tone. It roots you before the winds rise. From silence, move into declaration. Speak aloud the truths you want cemented in your bones. Do not whisper, do not mumble. Speak D as a man under oath. I am the architect of my destiny. My time is sacred. My energy is power. My thoughts are law. These are not slogans. They are programming codes written into the operating system of your subconscious. Repeat them until your chest vibrates with their weight. Understand the tongue steers the soul. If you start your day with complaint, the entire body will sag with weakness. If you start with command, the entire life will align with strength. The third step is alignment. Take your list, your calendar, your schedule, and strip it of anything that does not serve your mission. If it does not answer your definite chief aim, it is drift. If it does not strengthen your mind, body, or wealth, it is drift. If it feeds distraction, it is drift. Ruthlessly align. Do not move like the crowd, chasing errands and empty tasks. Move like a general, placing each soldier, each resource, each hour where it multiplies. And if you must work in a place that is not your ultimate calling, do not waste that time with bitterness. Use it as training ground, sharpening discipline, refining skill, funding your mission. Alignment turns every circumstance into fuel. The fourth command is sacrifice. Before noon, choose at least one thing to give up for your greater aim. Please you trent in. Maybe it is comfort, maybe it is distraction, maybe it is indulgence. But daily sacrifices prove to the subconscious that the mission outweighs the appetite. Most men fail not because they lack power, but as they refuse to bleed. But the man who bleeds a little every day in chosen sacrifice will not collapse when destiny demands a greater price. Sacrifice is training, Sacrifice is sharpening. Sacrifice is proof. At midday comes construction. Do not merely talk about goals. Do not merely lay aims. Build. Put hands to the task. Write the page. Send the proposal. Make the call. Lay the brick. Progress is built in the hours that excuses usually reign. It is not enough to dream. You must deposit sweat into your vision daily. And lies the secret. Your subconscious learns from your action, not from your wish. Each act of construction tells your inner self, this man is serious. This man commands. And the subconscious obeys by unlocking energy, focus, and persistence. By afternoon, you must enter reflection. Not long, not indulgent, but sharp. Ask yourself, did my words today align with my mission? Did my actions reflect law or drift? Did I conquer time, or did time conquer me? Reflection is the hammer that breaks lies before they harden into habits. Most men refuse reflection because it exposes their excuses. But a sovereign demands truth. Better to be cut by honesty now than bled by regret later. Reflection polishes the mirror so you can see clearly the man you are becoming. As the evening descends, enter solitude again. Pull away from the noise, the screens, the crowd. Even if only for 15 minutes, guard a sanctuary of stillness where you reconnect with purpose. Here is fed you guard against temptation, against lust, against the fires of wasted energy. Do not end your day by spilling your power into hollow pleasures. End it by gathering your power into focus. The night is when the weak waste themselves, but it is when the strong recharge their soul. Before sleep, you return to declaration, not to repetition only, but to prophecy. Speak the man you will be tomorrow. I rise with focus, I walk with fire, I obey my mission, I build legacy. Say it until your eyes grow heavy. Why? Because the final words you speak become the first bricks your subconscious lays overnight. Most men go to sleep rehearsing fear, failure, and regret, and they wake to the same chains. But the sovereign goes to sleep installing strength, and he wakes armored. This, then, is the daily command: silence, declaration, alignment, sacrifice, construction, reflection, solitude, and declaration again. Do this for 7 days and your energy will shift. Do this for 30 days and your habits will align. Do this for 90 days and your identity will transform. Do this for a year and the world itself will bend to the weight of your new self. You no longer drift. You no longer explain. You no longer hesitate. You will rise obeyed one who was sent, not one who stumbled. And when men ask you what changed, you will smile, for they cannot understand that greatness is not built in noise. It is built in the quiet, repetitive obedience to eternal law. So let the crowd waste their hours. Let them chase applause. Let them post half-built dreams. You will build differently. You will build quietly. You will build daily. And when the trumpet of destiny sounds, when the doors of opportunity open, you will not scramble like the unprepared. You will walk through them already crowned.